Day one, March Madness. You come?
I'm coming. 1-3 no limit at Aria. I'm coming.
Back at the Aria. March Madness, day one. Thursday afternoon, just sat in the old 2-5 game here at the Aria. 1K max, in for 1,000. So there's a couple ways of looking at these big weekends in Vegas. This is for sure one of the biggest weekends, one of the busiest weekends in Las Vegas. This weekend, the Super Bowl weekend, New Year's Eve weekend, maybe the rodeo. When the rodeo's in town, that's another good time to be in Vegas. So you always have like super high expectations going into the games here. You expect the games to be super good. You expect to do really well, and you have really high hopes. You hope to make a bunch of money. It's good to generally expect to do well, of course. You want to have a positive attitude. It's also pretty easy to have overinflated expectations for these kinds of big weekends. And it's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself to really grind out or just bink something, bink a huge score, have a great session or multiple sessions over this weekend. You definitely want to be putting in a good amount of hours when this sort of weekend is upon you, because the opportunity might be somewhat better. I think that you also need to temper that with somewhat of realistic expectations, because you can't make yourself run good. So you kind of just have to stick to your normal game plan. You don't really go out of your way to do anything too different. You just try. The idea is to just put yourself in a position to succeed. And you do that by finding good games, being mobile, being realistic about the game that you're currently in, and keeping an eye on other games, and continuing to move around to other properties if the game you're in doesn't feel like it should be up to par for such a big weekend. So that's kind of the general approach. No real science to it. Just keep after it, stick to the normal game plan. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, but stay on the grind and stay mobile. All right, let's do it. All right, just taking a quick break here at the Aria. Been playing for a few hours now, and just usual drill. Let's go over a couple of key hands real quick here so far. In the first hand, there's a couple limps, and I look down at ace-3 of diamonds in the small blind. I complete, and the big blind checks. 4 ways to a flop. Flop is ace-9-3 with 2 clubs. I go ahead and I lead for full pot. I figure if someone has an ace or a flush draw, they're gonna call no matter what the bet size is, so might as well size a little bit bigger. Folds to the cutoff, and he makes the call. Turn is an offsuit deuce, which is one of the best cards in the deck for me. It shouldn't change anything. This time I bet $50, and the cutoff he tries to raise, he only throws out 1 black chip. The dealer obviously thinks it's a call, and he goes to scoop the bets in, and the player says that he was trying to raise. Of course, it can't stand because he just threw 1 oversized chip in. So a pretty interesting spot if he's trying to raise there. But we're off to a river card, and the river is the ace of clubs, so completes the flush draw, but gives us pretty close to the nuts here. So since he was trying to raise the turn, I just decide to check it over to him. I feel like he has to continue with, I feel like he has to bet the majority of his hands here. I don't think he's gonna check down unless he was trying to, unless it was like some sort of a fake out angle type thing on the turn where he wasn't actually trying to raise, he was just trying to pretend that he was trying to raise, which is definitely possible, but I don't think he's the type. I don't really think he's the type to go for that sort of an angle. I feel like it was legitimate that he really wanted to raise the turn. So with that in mind, I just decide to check it over to him and let him do the betting. So I check, and good news is that he bets $150. Of course, we lose to ace-9, so if we put in a raise and he happens to have ace-9, that would be unfortunate, but I think there's some other hands he could have here, and I'm not gonna let that deter me, that one hand deter me from putting in a raise and going for more value. So I check raised it to $350. It leaves me about $200 behind. You could make a case for just jamming it all in, or maybe even making it $450, leaving me $100 behind. I'm not too sure what the exact bet sizing, correct bet sizing is there on the river, but I went for $350. He makes the call pretty much right away. So with him calling and not raising, obviously we're scooping this one. We show and we take it down. Next interesting hand comes with the hijack and the cutoff open limping into the pot, and we look down at 2 queens on the button. Certainly raising it up here. I make it 30 to go, and only the hijack calls. Hijack is the same player from the previous hand. The 2 of us go heads up to a flop of 9-3 deuce, all clubs. We do not have a club, and he checks it over to us. He's only got about $300, so if we were a little bit more deep stacked, I think I might be more reluctant to put out a C-bet, because he could put us in some pretty tough spots with some semi-bluffs. If he has the ace-high flush draw, it's gonna be pretty tough for us to call down here with 1 pair with no club. But since he only has $300-ish, I'm just gonna go ahead and bet, planning to just go with the hand, no matter what. We flopped the overpair. We are playing against a player who has shown some willingness to put some money into the pot in previous hands with non-nutted hands. Pretty close to the top of our range here. So I go ahead and C-bet. I bet $40. And what do you know? The hijack jams his whole stack in there. Check raise, all in, $300-ish. It's kind of an iffy spot, because even if he is check jamming his semi-draws with a club or a pair plus draw of some sort, pair plus club hand, we're not that far ahead. But it seems like we're ahead of his range here, and not too much choice here. Just gonna have to call it off, hope for the best, which is what I do. I make the call. The board doesn't change too much. The board runs out pretty much brick. He says he misses. He says he is behind and missed, and we win, and I show my hand, and he goes ahead and mucks. So we scoop this one, running pretty good in the session. Some straightforward hands for the most part. Take this one down. Just wrapping up the session.
Back.
Got this guy with me again. Repeat character in the vlog, Adam Jones. Adam Jones. So as last time, Adam made an appearance. Sort of the same game plan today. Wrapped it up over here at Aria, and going to go look into starting a game at a non-traditional place, you might say. Currently walking over to the Monte Carlo casino, which I believe they are actually closing their poker room like next month or something.
Months, but the room's actually pretty cool. It's got a nice character, but just never got any action going. Some small games, like 2-6 spread limit.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit tough. Thank you, sir. Could be a little bit tough attempting a 2-5 game at the Monte Carlo, but just gonna investigate it anyway. And like Adam said, the room is pretty cool. It's like, it's always reminded me of if someone had like a really nice house and ran a home game in their really nice house.
Yeah,
that would be the Monte Carlo poker room. So at least we'll get some shots of the place, if nothing else. Down below, they were like, they were commenting on our. All right, so we got a 2-5 game going over here at the Monte Carlo. We set the terms at 100 minimum, 1,000 maximum. I'm in for 500. Normally I'd buy in for 1,000, but didn't want to intimidate anybody, you know, with that max buy-in. Not really, but just trying to keep it friendly for now. Probably top up in a little bit, but in for 500 for now.
I think maybe you make it 200 or 150.
All right, so in this hand, the button straddle is on. There's an early position limp. We look down at ace 10 offsuit. The early position limper is a bit of an action player, so if I put in the ISO here, if I put in the ISO raise, I think he will call with many worse hands, and it's definitely worth going for the ISO raise. So that's what I do. I put in a raise to $45. The cutoff calls, and the limper calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop. Ace 5-4 with 2 diamonds. Early position checks. I decide to play some pot control here. I decide to check it, and the cutoff puts out a bet. Pretty small one, bets $50. Early position folds. No choice here, I call. Turn is offsuit 6. Shouldn't change too much, I wouldn't think. I check it, and the cutoff checks back. River's at offsuit 7, so puts 4 to a straight up. Since it's pretty hard to bet and get called by worse, I think, with 4 to a straight up, I decided to check it over to the cutoff one more time. Try to induce a bet, a bluff of some sort, maybe from missed diamonds or who knows what. So I check it, and the cutoff bet's $50. So for that price, not folding. If he somehow has a straight here, somehow bet the flop with some sort of an 8, and he's now made a straight, just gonna have to give it to him. So I go ahead and make the call. He rolls over, queen jack of hearts. Not too much equity for him in any point in that hand, post flop. Take it down. All right, so I completely missed recording this next hand. Just one of those spots. You know the drill, $25 to X charity. See description box below. The hand is just too important to not report. So here we go. Same player, same action player as before. Raises to 20 in middle position. I look down at 2 queens. Definitely looking at 3-bet versus this player. So I go ahead and make a 3-bet. I make it kind of big. Make it $80 to go. Folds back to him, and he makes the call. So heads up to the flop. Good situation, exactly what we wanted. Flop is king 9-3 all spades. He checks it over to me, and since we do have a spade and some showdown value here, while I think I can probably get called by a wide-ish array of hands, perhaps, I suspect checking might be slightly better here. So I go ahead and check it. Turn card. Guess what it is? Turn card, offsuit queen. Not only do we hit our little offsuit queen, our opponent just decides to jam it all in there. Stack size about $375. A little bit of an overbet. 2x the pot or so. Never folding here, obviously. I snap call. River's a brick. He rolls over, offsuit, Jack 10. Just drills it on the turn and somehow fades the world on the river card. Congratulations. The offsuit queen comes back to haunt us a little bit here on this hand, apparently. Wrapping up the session. Interesting session today, to say the least. Interesting couple of sessions. I mean, the previous session, the one at Aria, pretty straightforward for the most part. Pretty smooth sailing. This session at the little Monte Carlo poker room, anything but straightforward and or smooth sailing. Neither. It was a fun session. It was an active one. And it was cool to get a game going, a 2-5 game going at the Monte Carlo, which had no shot of getting a 2-5 game going tonight. Got the game up and running for several hours, and even to the point where there was several people on the waiting list. It's just cool to get a game going in that room in particular because that room is not going to be around for much longer. The Monte Carlo Poker Room is one of the spots where I frequented when I first moved to Las Vegas. So while it's a little unfortunate that that session tonight wiped out the good session at the Aria, I guess it was fun anyway. It was a good experience, another good experience of getting a game started, and good fun game. 4 in the morning now. Pretty long day one of March Madness 2017. Break even day-ish. All right, so it's gonna be a long weekend. First day, once again, a little bit of flashbacks to Super Bowl weekend. At least it wasn't a loss, really. We lost a smidge, but pretty close to break even. Nope, all set. Couple shout outs are in order real quick. G101 from Guildford Poker Club, him and all the homies back in the UK. Seat 9 from Austin. Unfortunately, I didn't get his name, I don't think, but really cool meeting you, and really want to get out to Austin sometime soon, preferably. We had Andy Avalanche in there from Twitter in the game tonight at Monte Carlo. And last but not least, I feel really bad because I don't think I got this person's name, but I do know they're from Lexington, and I do know he gave me this. This is our sweat tomorrow, or today, I guess, since it's now 5 in the morning, but he gave me a free bet on Michigan State University. $25 to win $22.70. Ticket pays $47.70. Go green. Let's go Sparty. We're in this together. Come on guys, root for Sparty. Today, tomorrow. I mean, by the time you watch this, the game has probably already happened, but you will already know the results of this bet. I don't know the results of this bet right now. I'm rooting for Michigan State, and thank you, Lexington. Very nice touch. That's really cool of you. I've said it before. Thanks for saying hi to me. If you see me in the poker room, got the best vlog watchers in the world. All right, I'm gonna go crash. Back to it tomorrow.